Yep.
All right, thanks. Sorry, for some reason my AirPods sounded like I was underwater, so it was not helpful. Just getting folks back from the waiting room.
How did your annual meeting go?
It was good. We got done about 10 minutes early, so it was good timing. With five districts, it was we only had a couple members of the public, but lots of questions from board members who are public for different boards, so it all worked out. And Greg or Randy, are you aware if Brandon was planning on coming back to this meeting?
I thought so.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started with the district. Well, Joan, let me ask quickly, were you planning to use this opportunity to have an executive session with District 2 as part of the meeting?
We are, but I set up a separate Zoom call.
Well, that's perfect. Then let's start with district number 2.
Okay.
That way folks can jump from one meeting to another, and this meeting will still be open, so you can come back to this meeting so we can close it out on this Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. And Brandon did just join. So we'll go ahead and we do have a quorum of both districts 2 and district 4. Mitchell and Brandon, are you okay if I go ahead and run through the agendas?
Yes.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Great. All right, so we'll go ahead and call both of the meetings to order. We do have a quorum of both boards. For both boards, I can confirm that we filed your conflict of interest disclosure statements with Secretary of State and the board at least 72 hours in advance. So unless you had any of the board members anything new or different to disclose, we'll go ahead and summarize those for the meeting minutes. The directors in District 4 all have conflicts and would need to participate in order to have a quorum. All right, with that, on the District 2 agenda, we did have consider appointment to the vacancy. I know we don't have a lot of time today, but board 2 members, I know that there isn't really an individual ready to be forwarded for nomination today, but did just want to answer any questions you might have about what that process looks like or get any direction from you regarding the process.
I think we're all good on that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Has there been any interest in residents of District 2 that have put forth to the board?
Yeah, we've had a couple residents give interest, but we haven't narrowed it down to one yet. But we do have interest. So.
Great.
Is there any specific process that we're thinking about or talking about?
I think we decided not to move forward with the process that was discussed last meeting, just because it seems like it was going to take up a lot of time and, more importantly, a lot of finances for the district. So we feel like we have enough interest from previous individuals that have elected that we'll be able to find someone without having to spend a ton of district resources between the accounting and legal and everything. So.
All right, moving to item 3 on the agendas. This is common for both agendas. I don't have any changes to request to the agenda. I think today's a fairly limited purpose meeting. So unless anybody has any requests for changes, I'd be looking for a motion first from the District 2 board to approve the agenda as presented.
I motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. And second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor for District 2, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That motion carries. And then from District 4, if I could get a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Brendan. And a second?
Second.
Randy, thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Great. Item 4 on both agendas is public comment for matters not on the agenda. We do have a couple of members of the public with us today. If any members of the public do have any public comment for matters not on the agenda, please raise your hand. We'll try to limit that to 3 minutes per person. All right, seeing no hands raised, just one last call to make sure. All right, item 5 on both.
Sorry, Jennifer, I don't see the hand raise action. Oh, there it was. I apologize.
That's why I always give a minute, because I swear it moves every time I use Zoom. So go ahead, Jason.
I know you don't have District 4 agenda up on your screen, but just wondering and trying to make sure. I know there were some emails back and forth with additional funding for District 1 Special Counsel, and I want to make sure that is being considered by District 4. Has that been added to District 4 agenda?
It is not on the agenda as a listed item. There is a sort of omnibus item here at number 10, which is regarding actions regarding operations in the intergovernmental agreement. So it could be considered at that point. I don't have any additional information on that, so I would have to defer to Brandon on that.
We can certainly have a discussion in District 4. Under 10, that's probably fine.
Yep. All right, great. Going back to the agenda for District 2 then, we do have meeting minutes for both districts. Those were included in your meeting packet. For District number 2, that's your July 25th, 2023 meeting. And for District number 4, it's your February 3rd, 2023 meeting minutes. Happy to take any questions, concerns, or revisions to either one of those. If there are none, I'd be looking for a motion to approve, first from District number 2.
A motion to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Excuse me. And then from District number 4, if I could have a motion to approve your February meeting minutes.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. That takes us up to legal and financial matters. I don't have any legal matters for either district that aren't enumerated elsewhere. Alyssa, you are on the line. You just went over a lot of finances, just making sure you don't have any financial matters you needed to discuss with the boards today.
Oh, no other financial matters.
Thank you. All right, that takes us up to other business. District number 2, yours is to consider approval of engagement of special legal counsel. Ms. Ritchie is on the line and her engagement letter was provided in your meeting packet. I did review that. There was a revised version sent out yesterday, which I think Megan got into a revised packet that was sent out. So happy to take any questions on that. And Joan, if you had any comments or discussion on your engagement letter.
I don't have anything to add.
All right, great. If there are no questions on that, I'd be looking for a motion from district number 2 to consider approval of the engagement letter for special legal counsel.
I motion for approval of the engagement letter special counsel.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Thank you, Brendan. All right, and then on the District 4 agenda, we sort of have the counterpart to this, similar to what happened with Districts 1 and 4, since District 4 is the operations district here and has all of the money in its accounts. Under the IGA, they would be expected to provide legal counsel for the districts, the funding for that. So for District number 4, we also have the engagement of the special counsel for District number 2. There is a signature line included on the engagement letter, similar to what happened with District number 1, to indicate that District 4 is agreeing to the payment terms only, is not the client. Again, Jen, I'll open up to you if you had any comments on your engagement letter.
The engagement letter follows a similar format to verb law. except it does not contain a provision for a retainer.
Thank you. That is a noteworthy distinction. Thank you. So District 4 board members, your special counsel is not on the line today, so my ability to counsel you on this is fairly limited. But if you did have any questions or internal discussion, feel free at this point. If not, I'd be looking for a motion to approve this engagement letter.
Sure. I think my question, I guess, and discussion amongst the board, and this probably goes to the district board too as well, is that the engagement with special counsel is contingent upon payment by district number 4, and similar to what district number 4 had worked out with district number 1 for Herbalaw, was a projection of the expenses that would be incurred by special counsel, for the period, I guess, through the end of the year for 2023. And, with those projections, how would district number 4 accommodate those additional expenses for legal in the annual budget? And, it was brought up earlier in the town hall meeting that, certain line items from district number 1 were recommended to be reduced in district number 4 in the annual budget. And therefore, we would hold off on some of the expenses, in district number 4's budget. So I guess the question would be posed to the district number 2 folks in terms of, what is the projected expenses in 2023, and how would district number 4 accommodate those additional expenses? And so, maybe that's a discussion that you'll probably need to have with district management as well, in terms of, what are the areas that could be accommodated or reduced, I guess, from the the final 2 months of the year. So I guess maybe I'll pose it to district number 4 folks first. Any other questions or thoughts in regards to that discussion, and then we can get feedback, I guess, from D2.
I had the same question, Brandon, so you've already asked it.
Does that sum it up?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Okay. I guess with
Okay.
that, the question goes to D2. Have you analyzed the budget? What are areas have you discussed with district management? What and how much it's going to be projected, I guess, for the end of the year and into next as well.
Well, it's tough for us to give an estimated budget for how much it's going to cost the rest of the year. So we just don't know how much communication will be back and forth between 2 and 4. But a couple line items on the budget that maybe we can consider would be maybe like cleaning supplies, monument maintenance. Without us actually controlling the budget and having a say over it, that probably would be a better question for District 4. But those are a couple line items that we saw early on that has potential. So. But Timberline might be able to comment on that too, on, maybe some areas where we can get some financing for it.
Given where we're at in the year, there's really not a lot of options. You brought up the cleaning line item. We're already over budget on that, so that doesn't have any allowance in it. Monument maintenance, I believe, was cut 100% to pay for D1 special counsel. We can always get with you and go back and see exactly what we cut for D1 that's no longer available and take a look at the overall budget. But given that we're already in November, there's not a lot of room.
Okay, I guess I'd suggest, Mitchell getting together with Jerry to analyze it a little more detail, see if there's any available areas that you could look at, for the end of the year budget here. And I guess for the D4, board directors, I would suggest that if we could do a kind of an allotment of $5,000, subject to the identification by district number 2 and district management, if there's any available funds in the remaining D4 budget, something along those lines. And Jennifer, you might be able to help me to kind of craft that, motion. But, something along the lines of, an approval of the engagement up to a certain amount. And $5,000, I think, is probably a good start. But I'll leave that up to other folks on D2 to provide a, response to that, subject to, the identification of the funds, from the budget, the operating budget. So Jennifer, you can kind of take that, I guess, and kind of work that into a motion.
I would restate that as a motion to approve the engagement of special counsel for district number 2 to a current not to exceed amount of $5,000 funding from district number 4, subject to the identification by district number 2 of budget line items that can potentially be decreased to provide that funding.
And I'm not going to make that motion since I am on district number 2 as well. So I'll leave that up to another D4 board member.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable to me, Brandon. I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Okay.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, thank you. That motion carries. That takes us up to the potential executive session. District 4, as I understand it, since you don't have legal counsel online, will not be having an executive session. Joan, do you want to handle recording on your end since you're going to be switching over, or do you want me to record here the initial portion of going into the executive session? How do you want to handle that?
Let's go ahead and record the initial going into the motion and approval to go into executive session. And then because we are discussing legal matters and getting legal advice, that the executive session will not be recorded.
Great, thank you. And did you have any revisions? In the rush to get these things posted, you had a very cursory amount of time to look at the proposed motion. So if you want to state the motion that you prefer for the board, I would defer to you, and then I am recording it here, so I'll have that for you.
No, actually, that's fine. And I used the language in the motion for the description of the executive session as the scope of services in the engagement letter. So I think it's comprehensive and
Okay. So I'd be looking for then as a motion to enter into an executive session pursuant to section 24(6), 402, 4B, and 4E CRS for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions regarding the intergovernmental agreement by and among districts numbers 1 through 5, budget, finances, fees, and operations, and determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies for negotiations, and instructing negotiators regarding a proposed agreement with Erie Highlands number 1 and or Erie Highlands number 4 district operations and the intergovernmental agreement between all of the districts. And I expect someone to repeat that verbatim without looking.
Yeah, that was a mouthful.
So from district number 2, if I could get that motion made, please.
I motion that.
Thank you, Mitchell. And do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Keith. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I will abstain and I will not join executive session to make it really awkward for the other folks on district number 2. So Mitchell, I can catch up with you post meeting at some point. Love to just continue our conversations. Joan's pleasure to meet you, and I'll pick it up later.
And at this point, I just want to clarify that, Brandon, you have direct conflicts, and going forward, my recommendation to the board is that do not be part of any of these discussions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. So I'm going to stop the recording here for the executive session. District 2 has convened into an executive session. I understand that you have a separate Zoom or Teams link that you'll be convening to. When you're done with that executive session, if you'll please come back to this Zoom link, I will keep it open even if District 4 has already concluded their meeting, so that you can come back to this public meeting to close the executive session and adjourn, take any actions and adjourn your meeting. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And I just want to confirm, Keith, Andy, and Mitch, you did get the Zoom link.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
we'll leave this one and join the other one.
Yes.
All right, for district number 4 then, no executive session. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Keith is trying to rejoin the same Zoom link.
I went to the wrong one.
You did, you came back to the same one, okay. And so no executive session, for legal advice purposes at least. District 4 board members, did you plan to discuss negotiations without your legal counsel present? Or should we move on to item 10?
I think we can move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. Item 10 is then any actions and or direction regarding district operations or the IGA by and among districts number 1 through 5. This was sort of our very broad other business item. As Jason brought up, there is sort of an outstanding request, I believe, from district number 1 for additional funding. I've not been a party to those conversations, so I'm going to stop talking and let you guys talk about that.
Right. I'd make the same request, I guess, to district number 1 in regards to special counsel. I think that was the discussion that we had earlier in the year, and the additional funds, I guess, for any additional legal expenses should be, if we can accommodate them elsewhere, we certainly should look at those options.
Yep, I will go back through my emails. I was under the impression we have already sent and had approval from D4 that with the additional items that we were cutting, it was there. So I will go back through my email and try and find what we had suggested earlier and go through that process. Because, like I said, to my knowledge, we had already done this step for the additional funding for the continuing engagement. And I guess it just never got ratified, but I will make sure I can do that.
Okay. Yeah, and if that's the case, and you already identified, I guess, the areas that would be, I guess, reduced from the budget, operating budget, and yeah, we can certainly look at that. So maybe, Jerry, if you can review that with Jason, and circle back on where we are currently. We got 2 months left in the year, and our budget's kind of coming to an end here.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, sounds good. And touch base at any point to talk further.
And I might just ask, I'm sorry, just for purposes of the minutes, because I haven't been part of this, what is the amount of additional funding?
Jason, do you have that, or Josh?
I don't have it directly in front of me at the moment. Josh, do you
know? It was the exact same amount as the initial engagement letter, which I believe was 20,000. So I think the additional was 20 as well.
Okay, and I think I have maybe one email. I can find it if it's not.
Okay.
So I guess board 4, from what it sounds like, there might have already been identification of the amounts. Is the board ready to approve the additional funding, or how do you want to proceed?
I'd like to just have district management confirm, I guess, where we are with the budget, the reductions that were proposed by D1, and just to make sure that, those reductions are still accommodated for, I guess, as we approach the end of the year. So subject to confirmation of all of that, yeah, I would think that we could, approve moving forward with the additional expenses of the $20,000.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is the desire for, or potentially a motion from Brandon, I don't know which one yet, for
desire and yes, motion.
Okay, desire to have a motion
Yes.
To approve the additional funding in the amount of, we believe it's $20,000, subject to identification or re-identification of the budgeted line items that are going to be reduced to fund that, and confirmation from district management that we're able to still accommodate those reductions.
Yes. And yeah, that sums it up. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll make that motion to that effect.
Okay, thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Sorry, was that Greg? Randy.
Randy.
Sorry, the box didn't light up. I was like, oh shoot, who's talking?
Sorry.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right. That motion carries. Sorry, I was confused. Todd is not on this board. We have
Yeah.
I
And,
had three
and
of three eyes. My counting skills are off today because we've had various people at various meetings. So
exactly, if it's determined that, district management, does not have the budget available to do that, then I think we'll need to circle back in terms of, what the next steps.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Any other actions today? All right. Sorry, I awkwardly asked that since I haven't been involved, and so I don't know what you may have talked to special counsel about. So that's the reason for that. If there is nothing else, I would take a motion to adjourn the District 4 board meeting at 3:26 p.m.
It's motion to adjourn.
And a second,
Second.
Randy, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Great, and I'll just be leaving this meeting open until District 2 comes back. So anybody who wants to listen to me go for a dog walk while I'm on mute with my camera off, feel free to stay.
Excellent.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks all.